There is a silent cruelty operating in the shadows of human psychology, a truth that few have the courage to face, a reality that challenges our deepest beliefs about justice, merit, and reward. It is the paradox that haunts millions of men around the world. Why are good people so rarely chosen? Why is it that those who follow all the rules, who strive to please, who put the needs of others above their own, so often end up alone, ignored, or worse, used and discarded? The answer isn't comfortable. It's not politically correct. It's not what you've been taught to believe, but it's the truth. And today, we're going to dissect that truth layer by layer until we get to the core of the cruel psychology that governs human attraction. Not so that you can become someone you're not, but so that you can understand the invisible forces that shape people's choices, and so that you can finally make the right choices for yourself. First, we need to dispel a dangerous myth, the idea that being good and being chosen should be directly correlated. This is one of the biggest lies that society perpetuates. From childhood, we are bombarded with stories where the good hero always wins the heart of the princess, where virtue is always rewarded, where kindness always triumphs. But reality operates under different laws, laws that don't care about what should happen, only what does happen. Human nature did not evolve to reward kindness for its own sake. It evolved to reward strength, competence, confidence, determination, qualities that throughout our evolutionary history have signaled a mate who is capable of protecting, providing for, and producing healthy offspring. Kindness, when unaccompanied by these fundamental qualities, not only fails to generate attraction, but often signals weakness, submissiveness, and low value. Let's be clear, I'm not suggesting that you abandon your values or become cruel. I'm revealing that there's a crucial difference between naive kindness, the kind that seeks approval, fears conflict, and sacrifices itself to please, and benevolent strength, the kind that comes from a place of abundance, of conscious choice, of controlled power. The former repels, the latter magnetizes. Consider this. When you observe someone who constantly goes out of their way to please others, who never says no, who is always available, who puts everyone else's needs above their own, what is your gut reaction? If you're honest with yourself, you probably feel a mixture of pity and mild contempt. You may appreciate the benefits this person has in your life, but you're unlikely to feel that magnetic spark of attraction or deep respect. Why? Because subconsciously, you sense that this person doesn't value themselves. And if they don't value themselves, why should you? This is the first cruel principle of the psychology of attraction. The value you place on yourself sets the upper limit on the value others can place on you. When you behave like someone of low value, always available, overly eager to please, unable to set boundaries, you are signaling to the world that you are unworthy. And the world, invariably, believes you. Notice how people respond to gifts or favors. When something is easily obtained, without effort or investment, its perceived value plummets. The same principle applies to human interactions. When you offer your attention, your time, your resources, your validation without the other person having to invest or earn it, you are essentially saying, I'm not worth the effort. You can have me for free. And paradoxically, what is obtained without effort is rarely valued. Let's look at some specific behaviors that nice people often exhibit that secretly sabotage their attractiveness. The first is overavailability. When you're always available, always responding immediately, always putting others before your own needs and goals, you're not demonstrating dedication. You're demonstrating a lack of purpose. Attractive people have fulfilling lives, clear purposes, and healthy boundaries. They're not waiting for someone to value them. They already have intrinsic value. The second behavior is the constant search for approval. Repeatedly asking if everything is okay, if the person is happy with you, if you did something wrong. This shows no consideration, it shows insecurity. And few things are as repellent as chronic insecurity. The desperate need for external validation creates a vicious cycle. The more you seek approval, the less attractive you become, which leads you to seek even more approval. The third behavior is conflict avoidance at all costs. Good people are often afraid to disagree, express opposing opinions, or set boundaries, for fear of upsetting others or causing friction. But healthy conflict, the ability to disagree respectfully, to stand your ground when necessary, to not give in just to keep the peace, is essential to mutual respect. Without it, you become predictable, manipulable, and ultimately uninteresting. The fourth behavior is unilateral sacrifice. Giving up your needs, your dreams, your preferences to accommodate others is not noble. It is self-destructive. Healthy, engaging relationships are based on reciprocity, not martyrdom. When you consistently sacrifice without reciprocity, you are not building connection. You are cultivating resentment and contempt, both from the other person and, eventually, from yourself. The fifth behavior, and perhaps the most insidious, is the absence of clear standards and expectations. Good people often accept whatever treatment they get, justifying unacceptable behavior, giving endless chances, refusing to set consequences for transgressions. This is not compassion, it is a lack of self-respect. And without self-respect, attraction is impossible. Now, you may be wondering, if being nice in the conventional way is so damaging, is the alternative to being cruel, manipulative, or selfish? Absolutely not. The alternative is to transform naive kindness into benevolent strength. It's being kind from a position of power, not weakness. It's giving because you choose to, not because you have to. It's setting clear boundaries, valuing your time and energy, and interacting with others from a place of abundance, not lack. The benevolent force manifests itself in specific ways. First, in the ability to say no without guilt or excessive explanations. When you can refuse requests that don't align with your priorities or values, you demonstrate that you have standards, that your time has value, that your life has direction. This not only increases your self-respect, but also the respect others have for you. Second, in the willingness to express disagreement when necessary. Truly attractive people are not echoes, they are counterpoints. They have opinions of their own, unique perspectives, and the courage to express them even when unpopular. This does not mean being combative or contrary on principle. It means being authentic and having enough conviction to stand up for your beliefs. Third, in the practice of strategic generosity. Generosity that attracts is not indiscriminate. It is intentional. It is giving more to those who demonstrate reciprocity, who add value to your life, who respect your limits. It is investing in people and relationships that offer positive returns, not out of cold calculation, but out of healthy self-preservation. Fourth, cultivate emotional self-sufficiency. The ability to find fulfillment, purpose, and joy independent of external validation is deeply attractive. When you don't desperately need approval, affirmation, or attention, you become magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need them to be complete. Fifth, and perhaps most important, is the maintenance of a higher purpose that transcends individual relationships. Truly attractive people have a mission, a passion, a calling that defines their existence. They don't live to please others, they live to fulfill their purpose. And paradoxically, this dedication to something greater than interpersonal relationships often results in deeper, more meaningful relationships. Now, let's address a common objection. But if I start setting boundaries, saying no, putting my own needs first, won't people think I'm selfish or arrogant? The answer is, some people will. Specifically, those who benefited from your naive kindness, who were used to taking without giving in return, who valued what you did for them, not who you were. And this brings us to a fundamental truth. The transformation from naive kindness to benevolent strength doesn't just change how others perceive you. It changes who is attracted to you. When you operate from weakness, you attract people who seek to exploit that weakness. When you operate from strength, you attract people who respect and resonate with that strength. This is the ultimate irony of the cruel psychology of attraction. By stopping trying to be good in the way you've been taught, by stopping putting yourself down to please others, by stopping fearing judgment and rejection, you become genuinely good. Not the kind of goodness that's born of fear, insecurity, or the need for approval, but the kind of goodness that flows naturally from someone who is at peace with themselves, who knows their worth, who has abundance to share without impoverishing themselves. So how do you begin this transformation? How do you move from the naive kindness that repels to the benevolent force that attracts? Start with small, consistent changes. Practice saying no to requests that don't align with your priorities. Set clear boundaries in your relationships. Invest time and energy in developing your passions and skills. Cultivate internal sources of validation and fulfillment. Pay close attention to who reciprocates your investment and who merely takes without giving in return. And perhaps most importantly, let go of the belief that being chosen, being desired, being valued by others should be your primary goal. When you shift your focus from being chosen to consciously choosing your values, your boundaries, your priorities, the people you share your time and energy with, you fundamentally change the dynamics of attraction. The harsh and liberating truth is this: truly good people, those who operate from strength, purpose, and abundance, rarely worry about being chosen. They're too busy choosing. And paradoxically, that makes them the most chosen of all. The choice is now yours. To continue on the path of naive kindness that leaves you invisible, unappreciated, and often alone. Or to embrace the benevolent force that not only transforms how others see you, but fundamentally, how you see yourself. The psychology of attraction may be cruel in its truths, but it is infinitely generous in its rewards for those who have the courage to accept and apply them. The world does not reward those who simply wait to be chosen. It bows to those who know they are already chosen.